This is it. Opening day is this week, just 3 days away. Welcome to Fantasy Baseball today, July 20th. Frank Stanfield alongside Scott White, Chris Towers. And on Friday, I hinted we might have a special guest. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, you already know who it is because you see him. But he was kind enough to take a break from beer, meat, and FFT. Welcome back to the show, Heath Cummings. What's up, Heath?
Who says that I'm not consuming beer and meat right now?
That is a fair
You'll
question.
have to tune into the YouTube channel to know for sure.
Oh, man. So usually,
if you can't watch, Heath's just got a tomahawk ribeye, and he's just eating it like an ice cream cone.
I'm gonna try something new because most Mondays I intro the show. I ask Scott and Chris how their weekend was, and honestly, I'm not met with much here, Heath. So they mentioned you were the guy that usually has the big weekend responses. Heath, how was your weekend?
It was fantastic. Saturday night, my 10-year-old told me that he wanted to try some Brazilian food, so I grilled some picanha and made farofa, and we had some rice and beans. And then Sunday night, I grilled bison burgers. It was really a fantastic weekend full of barbecue and beer and pool.
That's probably more so up Chris's alley than anybody else here on the podcast because I'm pretty much a chicken finger and French fry kind of guy.
I mean, look, don't get me wrong, a good chicken finger, like a Longhorn Steakhouse chicken finger,
Ooh.
I can go to town on that. But, you got to broaden your horizons, too.
I do. I admittedly, just like, look, there's so many movies I haven't seen. There's so much food I haven't tried. Look, I have to broaden the horizons across the board. So at least I acknowledge it. Scott, we'll skip with the pleasantries. I know how much you don't enjoy those. I'll just ask you, did you watch any baseball this weekend? Because we had quite a few games on TV.
I should probably say I did.
So, did you?
That's my answer.
Okay. Chris, I'm just going to stop bashing Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stan because every time I do, they make me look silly.
I do want to say, I turned on the Yankees-Mets game last night.
Every time you look up, somebody was hitting a bomb.
Literally the very first pitch when I turned it on was a Giancarlo Stanton home run, 430 feet into the left field bleachers.
He was waiting for you, Chris.
He's good,
he sensed it.
guys. He's good, guys. Aaron Judge, good. Luke Voit, also homered yesterday. Good. Yankees are a really good team. They got lots of good players. You want them on your fantasy team, especially if these yahoos are going to tell you not to draft them.
I'm pretty sure I'm the only Yahoo. Well, I think Scott has Aaron Judge in his bust.
Scott hates Giancarlo Stanton.
I took Giancarlo Stanton out of busts 1.0 when I did 2.0. I took Aaron Judge out of bust 2.0
Coward.
when I did 2.1.
We know the darkness that's in your heart towards Giancarlo Stanton. You can't change it in writing and still fester.
I may still have darkness in my heart, maybe, but not as much as the community as a whole seemed to. Because when Judge is falling to round 6 and beyond, to me, it's reminiscent of Clayton Kershaw last year, where I had Clayton Kershaw on my bust list and then ended up with a ton of them because he hurt his shoulder in spring training and nobody wanted him anymore. I have no reason to believe Judge is unhealthy at this point. 2-homer game, and wasn't that the second 2-homer game he's had?
He hits lots of home runs.
Every time he plays, it seems like he's doing big things. And so I don't really worry about the rib anymore. I was never worried about him sleeping wrong on his neck. So he's fine. He probably shouldn't fall past round 4. But if he does, that's definitely where I'm going to seize that opportunity.
Now I'm really curious, because I provided a list of names today that I really liked at their ADP, and I'm curious how many of them have been on one of Scott's bust lists at some point this offseason.
Well, we're about to find out.
List? Okay, we're going by position. Okay, I see it.
Heath, one thing that you will learn is that I am also a Yankee fan like Adam, but just the complete opposite. Everything for me is pessimism, doom and gloom. Aaron Judge wakes up with a stiff neck. I tell everyone he's not going to play the rest of the season. So we're just completely.
So you're a Yankees fan, you're a podcast host, and you also eat like a child. So very much like Adam.
Yeah, not much has changed. Today on the show, we have a lot of news from the weekend to get to. Plus, Heath will let us know his favorite targets for this season. And we'll do a little bit of ADP review for those still drafting. I have 4 drafts in the next 3 days. So we've got a lot to get to. Let's jump right in. Heath, why don't you get us started with your favorite player to target at their current cost?
Well, it was either going to be Aaron Judge or Giancarlo Stanton. So I had put both of them in my favorite outfielders to draft at cost. And just, I was looking at CBS ADP. I think that they're both going just a little bit earlier in terms of some of the other places out there. But these were guys that were drafted in the second and third round last time we thought they were really fully healthy. And I don't really know much reason that Aaron Judge wouldn't be a second round hitter this year.
Yeah, so according to NFBC ADP in the month of July, Aaron Judge is going at pick 59, which is the round 5-6 turn, the 13th outfielder off the board. And then Giancarlo Stanton is pick 67 going off the board in round 6. He is the 18th outfielder off the board. We basically got into all of it here at the top, but I think it's probably time for me to stop bashing these guys.
One thing I want to point out about Giancarlo Stan. The lowest his ADP had ever been before this in NFC drafts, because that's the one you can look back at year over year. Coming off the 2016 season, when he hit 240 with an 815 OPS, so by far the worst season of his career, he was the 39th player off the board. It's not like injury. We're not going to do it again.
Look, there's
We're
also,
not going to do it again. There are no performance concerns with Giancarlo Stanton. That is absurd to say. He is great. He wasn't nearly as good as he usually is in 2018, which was the last time we saw him play full season. But that aside, even to Heath's point about why wouldn't Aaron Judge, if we had no health concerns, why wouldn't he be a second rounder? I think he was originally a third rounder for me before we found out about the rib. There are 6 rounds worth of second round hitters this year. That's a big part of it. So it's just such a high threshold because of the way the hitting pool was transformed last year. That's why you have to be particularly selective with that group. And look, even on a per game basis last year, Judge didn't perform like a second rounder. So that's why he didn't make that threshold for me. He does have more of a track record than some of those guys, but it's a crowded group.
Yeah, for me, the reason why I've been fading these guys is because I think that what they provide, which is mostly power, is something that you can find later on in the draft. I love Franmil Reyes a little bit later on. Kyle Schwarber could give you power as well. Will they give it to the level that a Stanton or a Judge will give it to you? Maybe not, but I'm willing to wait, the 50, 60 picks or so to find out. But look, if these guys are healthy now in that lineup, in that ballpark, I admit they can very easily make me look stupid. So I'll just preface the whole show with that here regarding Judge and Stanton. Some of the news and notes from the weekend, we have a lot to get to. The Blue Jays will not be playing in Toronto. We found that out over the weekend. Where will they play? That is the magic question, and I saw that there was a report just before we started here. They're currently looking into their AAA park in Buffalo, and they're talking about PNC Park, potentially sharing that park with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Scott, what's the latest that you've seen regarding this?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much traction the PNC Park thing has, but that's the most recent development I've seen. And apparently the players are pushing for an MLB park. I guess I don't know if it's just a facilities thing or what. They just want to play.
I would assume it's a lot better to play in an MLB park than a AAA park.
And I saw somewhere that the Pirates and Blue Jays schedule were almost entirely opposite, so there wouldn't be much conflict there. I mean, at some point they may have to bring another venue in if they decide to go the PNC Park route, but that's how PNC Park ended up in this mix. From a fantasy perspective, I'd rather them play at Buffalo because some hitters would gain value, and we're more the pitchers they have that are good, Ryu and Pearson, I wouldn't worry so much about, and I wouldn't worry about so much in a smallish venue because their skills would, I think, hold up there. But I'd like to see the hitters benefit from the short right center in Buffalo, which is like 365 feet away or something like that. PNC Park, obviously a pitcher's park, especially not good for right-handed batters, players who hit the ball to left field.
Per ESPN, starting Shohei Ohtani on Sundays makes the most sense because 3 of the Angels' 6 off days are on Mondays in this shortened season, so that maximizes the number of games Ohtani will impact. With this plan, Ohtani is in line for 10 starts as a pitcher and 34 starts as a hitter. Chris, I've basically said that I'm not going to be drafting Ohtani in head-to-head points leagues because I just don't know how much volume he's going to give you. But still, in a head-to-head categories league or a daily lineup league, I think that is where Ohtani makes the most sense to draft for this season and probably every season, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think like in the future, Shohei Ohtani could be a legitimate like weekly roto league stud. Like if he reaches the point where he can make, 28 starts every year at a regular workload, then yeah, I think he's going to be a must-start guy no matter what. But this year, looking at what he's done so far in his kind of intra-squad rehab starts, I think it's 41 of the 110 pitches he has thrown in his last 2 starts have been recorded as strikes. He is maxed out at 60 in his most recent one, which was a week ago. So actually, I assume he's pitched more recently than that. I haven't seen any reports on it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm not expecting a full workload from Shohei Ohtani, even in the 10 starts he makes. And the problem when you're looking at a weekly league is he's pitching on Sunday. That means if there's a rain out, if he gets pushed back, you just lost the whole week. And you maybe got 4 hitting starts out of it. I don't see Shohei Ohtani as someone as either a hitter or a pitcher. Obviously emphasis on or, because if he's an and hitter and pitcher, then that makes it a little more viable. But if you have to pick hitter or pitcher for a week, I don't think he's much more than a bench spot guy.
I kind of feel the same way, and I'm glad you brought that up about Sundays, because it felt like he was on that every Sunday track 2 years ago too. I don't know if the Angels were as vocal about their plans for him, but it just seemed like that kept happening. He was lined up to start Sunday, and either that game got rained out or one earlier in the week got rained out and pushed everybody back. Now, if the latter happens, if a start gets rained out, I don't know that it would push everybody back under Joe Madden. I think Ohtani is a higher priority at this point, and since they're going 6 men anyway, it affords them some wiggle room like that. But it's just the most potentially ruinous day that he could start for a weekly league, for your lineup is locked and you may get nothing out of him this week if something goes wrong there on Sunday. Because normally when pitchers are starting Sunday, they're making their second start, so it's not that big of a deal. But for Ohtani, it would be.
And for what it's worth, he did make his most recent start, 45 of 72 pitches for strikes, 6 strikeouts in 5 innings. Just wanted to throw that out there. It was his best start so far, but has still maxed out at 72 pitches in his final tune-up. So
he is still, to me, very valuable in leagues where you make daily lineup decisions. And I really think a lot more leagues this season should be those where you're making daily lineup decisions. I realize it's probably too late to change that, but this is the optimal year to try that out. You don't have to keep up with it for near as long, and we're going to need it. It's much more likely we're going to have a lot of bad midweek news this week than in past years.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And some people have actually asked questions regarding, hey, if I play in a weekly league, should I be able to swap players out of my lineup if they test positive for COVID halfway through the week? Because crazy things are going to happen, as Heath mentioned. So, look, if you do want to play a daily lineup or you ever wanted to try it, Heath's right. This is probably the year to do so. Jacob Degrom's sim game went well over the weekend, expected to throw 85 pitches on opening day. While we're on the positive news, Anthony Rizzo seems hopeful for opening day as well. I've seen a few drafts where he was starting to slip, so if he falls to you as a result, it looks like he's going to be good to go, hopefully. Cross your fingers with Anthony Rizzo. Some bad news. Astros manager Dusty Baker said Sunday that, quote, "We're not sure whether Roberto Osuna will be ready for opening day." Chandler Rome of the Houston Chronicle reports. Scott, have you moved Roberto Osuna because of this latest report?
I haven't yet. I don't feel like it takes relievers long to get ready, so I'm suspecting even if he's not quite ready for opening day, it'll be soon afterward. I would be more like, since I have Osuna third right now, I could see dropping him a couple spots since the investment is so high, but I can't really see like moving a potential replacement way up, like a Ryan Presley, because A, I doubt it would be just one guy filling in, and B, it would probably be for so short that like it's not really something I'd make a significant investment in.
Xander Bogaerts left Sunday's inter-squad matchup with hamstring tightness, so something to pay attention to. It doesn't sound too severe, but just pay attention. Brewers manager Craig Counsell said Sunday that he has been pleased with Corey Knebel's velocity during his throwing sessions in summer camp. Adam McCalvey of MLB.com reports, quote, "I think his velocity is right where he wants it to be," Counsell said of Knebel. Heath, it looks like you had something to say there.
I know. I was looking forward to the next. Come to me on the next news item because I'm very excited about it.
All right, Willie Calhoun, who is dealing with a hip injury, had 5 at-bats in Sunday's inter-squad game, which means he might be ready to go for the start of the season. What do you think, Heath?
Yeah, I lied. I was reading one ahead. I was really excited about Matt Kemp on the Rockies and what they're going to do to hold back as many young, exciting baseball players as possible. Matt Kemp, Ian Desmond, Daniel Murphy. It's a tradition like no other.
Yeah, so I asked...
Daniel Murphy's still going to be in there, baby. He's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. I asked Patrick Saunders, who covers the Rockies for the Denver Post, on Twitter, what he thinks of Matt Kemp's playing time, and this is exactly what he had to say. He's swinging the bat great. The Rocks need his right-handed power. He'll see plenty of time at DH, which is exactly what you don't want to hear, Scott, if you were hoping for Garrett Hampson to be a breakout.
Yes and no. I mean, plenty of time is pretty vague. I suspected Kemp would play against most left-handers, and that could be exactly what he means here. They have a lot of left-handed bats. Daniel Murphy himself, Ryan McMahon, Raimel Tapia, who I think, it was mid-July, but it passed me by in the moment. I saw that Raimel Tapia, a lot of beat writers were talking about him maybe getting most of the at-bats in left field rather than Sam Hilliard. But if it's Sam Hilliard, he's a left-handed bat too. So I agree there will be time for Matt Kemp to play plenty, but enough that it's going to really jeopardize one of those younger players like Hampson. I'm not sure about that.
Chris, would you be looking to add Matt Kemp in any of your deeper leagues?
No, I guess it is worth remembering that in 2018, he hit 290 with an 818 OPS and 506 plate appearances. He was awful last year, but he barely played 62 plate appearances. He's the kind of guy who, if he did play every day for the Rockies, I would think he could probably manage something close to a 900 OPS playing at Coors Field. That doesn't mean he's good.
Right.
But it means he's competent enough.
That's a good point. Like, would we be better off rooting for Matt Kemp to get every day at bats than to, get whatever we get from Sam Hilliard? It
just kind of taps into, I think, all fantasy players and analysts' bias towards the unknown and the unproven and the young guy. There's always the assumption that there's more upside with a Sam Hilliard or a Garrett Hampson or, Ryan, like whoever the guy is who we haven't seen peak. But if Matt Kemp does play every day for the Rockies, he's probably going to be a productive enough hitter unless he's just completely done, and he very well may be. But if he has anything left, and he showed he did in 2018, I think there's room for Matt Kemp to be, a fifth outfielder, let's say, a cheap source of power and batting average.
Yeah, I read an article on The Athletic recently where they were talking up Matt Kemp as well. So, look, in your NL-only leagues, in 15-team roto, anything deep like that, I would take a flyer now, and then if he starts to play every day and he performs well, then he might work his way into, 12-team standard lineup recognition. So, something to pay attention to with Matt Kemp. Some weekend performances. I've never done this before. I don't know that Adam has either.
Wait, Frank, one more.
What do you got?
Kyle Tucker is probably going to be the DH for the Houston Astros to start the season. Yordan Alvarez is, at this point, unavailable, and it's not clear when he's going to be available. Dusty Baker pretty much confirmed that he's going to be the DH as long as Alvarez is out, and I think the quote was he'll have plenty of other opportunities. And so, when I look at Kyle Tucker, he just needs his foot in the door, and he's got it now. And if Kyle Tucker for the first week of the season hits like he can, and Yordan Alvarez gets back, I would guess that they're not going to take Kyle Tucker out of the lineup if he's hitting.
Yeah.
And so it's just, he's got the opportunity. It was Cody Ballinger a couple of years ago. His rookie season was a similar situation. And wasn't Alvarez kind of a similar situation? He we weren't sure he was up for good.
I can't remember.
Or maybe it was Juan Soto.
Obviously they both performed right away,
Yeah.
and then it took any mystery out of it. So yeah, that's a good point. And we saw Kyle Tucker plummet in last week's drafts. I think we had been seeing him go like in the round 9 to 12 range of roto leagues. And I think he went like in round 15, 16, something like that in the one we did last week. I still have less hope for him today than I did 2 weeks ago when I just hoped he would beat out Josh Reddick outright. But yeah, I mean, Dusty Baker said he needs time to beat out Josh Reddick, and he's going to have at least a little bit of time at the start of the season. So that means there is hope there. Another news item I saw, Giovanni Gallegos is back in camp.
Yes.
And it sounds like there's a pretty good chance he'll be ready for opening day. So the Cardinals closer situation was never resolved, but it's even more muddled than before now. And I don't know that we aren't right back to needing to prioritize Gallegos over anybody else, because I think he's the most talented of the group.
Weekend performances. This is the matter-o-meter. How much does this matter on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's start with you, Heath. Max Scherzer on Saturday night. 5 innings pitched, 7 earned runs, 2 home runs allowed. How much does this matter?
0.
Zero.
Yep.
On a 1 to 10, it matters 0. Do not let Max Scherzer slip in your drafts. Scott, in relief, just after Max Scherzer, Austin Voth, who is vying for a rotation spot with the Washington Nationals. 4 shutout innings, 5 strikeouts. Last season in 43 and 2/3 innings pitched. A 3.30 ERA, 1.05 whip, over a strikeout per inning, 12.6% swinging strike rate. Austin Voth, how much does this matter?
Oh, I put in like a $17 bid for him in our NL only league and won him. I know some in the fantasy community are very excited about him. Like they're bringing up his name constantly as a sleeper. I'm not there with him. His minor league track record is pretty uninspiring, and it's not like he was a big prospect, and he's already only 28. So just because he came up late last year and put together a few good starts with a strikeout per, I don't know that really moves the needle for me. But if I can get him for $17 in an NL only league, why not?
All right, so not there yet in shallower leagues.
Is that
for
a number?
Voth. What?
17?
No, on the ometer.
Oh, yeah, you didn't give a number.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank
Heath
you.
loves nothing more than policing these things.
How much do these things matter? Okay, so the actual performance, I will give it a 5, since Voth still hasn't technically won the job yet, though it looks like he's going to, the starter for the Nationals.
Chris, on the other side in that game, Aaron Nola, 5 shutout innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, basically against the Nationals' opening day lineup, sans Victor Robles. How much does this matter?
0.
I mean, there was some doubt whether or not Nola would be ready.
Aaron Nola's good.
Yeah.
He's really good. He's not going to be as good as he was in 2018. He's not going to be as bad as he was in 2019. And even when he was bad in 2019, he was still pretty good. Aaron Nola is a must-start guy. If he's your number 1 starting pitcher, he's fine. The only reason he was falling earlier on was because he didn't even test positive for COVID.
Right.
He came into contact with somebody who had tested positive. And for some reason, that dropped him like 3 rounds in some of the drafts I was doing. I got him in like the 60s one draft. So, no, there is no reason to be concerned about Aaron Nola.
Heath, Luis Robert hit 2 absolute bombs that I came across on Twitter on Saturday in an intra-squad game, and I have quite a feeling of FOMO. I have 4 drafts left. I have to wind up with him on at least one team to see what happens. How much does this matter, Luis Robert?
I mean, it's probably a good reminder of what the upside is. I don't know how much it's necessarily going to matter. I'll give it a 3 or a 4, but it's a good reminder, and you should have a little FOMO if you don't have any of them yet.
Cleveland's lineup, Scott. Cesar Hernandez was leading off. Oscar Mercado batting 9th. Womp womp. How much does this matter?
It matters. I'll give it a 6. I don't think we had heard yet where they were planning on batting Mercado, and he's the most, he's the one getting drafted in all the leagues, especially Roto, for the speed there. It sounds like it's going to be in the lower 3rd of the order, if nothing else. And that's going to limit his opportunities to hit, to run, to put up stats of any kind. So it's not great.
Chris, I definitely did not plan on you getting the Joe Musgrove. Does it matter?
I'm glad I did, though.
But 3 shutout innings, 5 strikeouts. He averaged 93.9 miles per hour on his fastball against the Indians. How much does it matter?
I guess, I mean, like, the velocity matters a lot.
Yes.
That's like a 10. The fact that the velocity is still where it was in that late season jump last season, where it was during the spring training reports that got us excited, that's a really good sign. Joe Musgrove is going to be a good pitcher if he's throwing in the mid-90s consistently. I guess the fact that he only threw 3 innings is a little weird. I don't know if that means he won't be ready for a full workload to start the season.
He has been throwing more. I'm not sure why it was only 3. If it was just, sometimes the last turn in spring training can make it shorter. So maybe it was just that situation. I don't know. Musgrove had been going deeper than that.
But I am confident now that the velocity has been confirmed to be there, that Joe Musgrove is going to be a starting caliber fantasy pitcher for sure.
Heath, Jay Bruce was batting cleanup for the Phillies yesterday, just behind JT Realmuto and just ahead of Reese Hoskins. It's a pretty nice spot in the lineup to be batting. How much does it matter?
It's a pretty bad guy to be putting in that spot in the lineup. It seems like that doesn't matter much to me at all. They're not going to play him every day and hit him fourth, are they? That's a terrible idea.
I mean,
I don't think they're going to play him against lefties.
Yeah, but he'll be the everyday DH against righties.
I guess it's at the expense of Hoskins. Hoskins moves why? Hoskins is at least good at getting on base.
This has to be one of those things where he just hit fourth.
Yeah.
Because it was his birthday or something.
Yeah, you miss.
He hit fourth.
You know who you miss right now? Gabe Kepler. Gabe Kepler never would have put Jay Bruce ahead of Reese Hoskins in the lineup.
Don't ever
I don't know if
say
that's a thing he did last
nobody
year,
ever misses Gabe Kepler. Nobody ever misses Gabe Kepler.
I mean,
and Giants are about
if they've got 261 on base percentage, Jay Bruce batting cleanup all season, we might miss Gabe Kepler.
Listen, I think Joe Girardi is a top 5 manager. So regardless of what the starting lineup looks like, I think they upgraded at manager personally.
I mean, just saying.
I think you as a Marlins fan should be able to appreciate.
Marlins fans do not like Joe Girardi.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you know this, but he ruined Josh Beckett's career.
Oh, okay.
That's not actually fair, but he brought Josh Beckett back from like a 2.5 hour rain delay after he had already thrown 5 innings. It was completely ridiculous, and he had Tommy John surgery like 3 weeks later or something. So
that was okay. That was after right after the World Series.
Literally
right?
12 years ago. In 2009, but still.
He went on to have a pretty good career anyway.
Definitely more Josh Beckett talk than I thought we would get to today. Jordan Montgomery, Scott, looked pretty damn good against the Mets yesterday. 5 shutout innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 6
not
Ks.
Josh Beckett, Josh Johnson.
Josh Johnson.
Oh. Okay.
Josh Johnson, that actually matters a little bit more. I was a big Josh Johnson fan.
Josh Beckett pitched in the majors more recently than Josh Johnson.
Jordan Montgomery, Scott, he averaged 92 miles per hour on his sinker, 92.8 miles per hour on his 4-seam fastball. Both of those were higher than his breakout 2017. He had 15 swinging strikes on 59 pitches. How much does this matter for Jordan Montgomery?
Pretty big. This might be an 8 for me. I had kind of cooled on Montgomery as a sleeper in the months since spring training. But this might reinvigorate me. That is some kind of efficiency. 59 pitches in 5 innings and 15 swinging strikes on 59 pitches. And it was against another team. I wonder sometimes about the results in these inter-squad games, with like fake umpires. Like what if they're really getting game conditions. But I would think against an opposing team like this, it would be closer. And he was doing this kind of stuff in spring training too. It might be time to call Montgomery a sleeper again.
Chris, Robinson Cano was batting third over the weekend, and apparently it sounds like he's going to bat third all season long. I don't know how much the guy has left in the tank, but I think if he is batting third in this lineup, it's a pretty damn good lineup, and I think just batting third alone will keep him somewhat fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I've had the feeling that Robinson Cano was being overlooked, but I haven't really been willing to put my I don't know, reputation on it. But I mean, you look back at 2018. This is another guy who had a really good 2018. Yes, he was suspended for PEDs, and that always causes people to say, well, he was only good because of that. But he had a 304 xBA and a 505 x slug, and he had an average exit velocity of 93.1 miles an hour. Robinson Cano was really good in 2018, and he was awful last year. There's no way around that, but a bounce back isn't totally out of the question. You know, he still had above average exit velocity. He still made pretty good contact. So I think there is room for Robinson Cano to have a bounce back and be a starting caliber second baseman. I can't say I have him on any of my rosters, but you know, if you're in a 15-team league, especially, I think he's probably worth a look.
How much does it matter on the Matero meter?
He's batting third. I think it's like a 10.
10. Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
only 10 of the day regarding Robinson Cano.
A lot. I don't know if it matters enough to like. It matters if he's good. Ultimately,
to be fair, I think Chris has only awarded 0s and 10s so far.
Well, yeah, it either matters or it doesn't, and this matters. You know, like it doesn't guarantee that he'll be good by any stretch, but if he is good, it matters a ton.
The last one I'll mention is Cody Ballinger had 3 hits last night, including a grand slam. I would say that the swing looks pretty good. I think he's all right. Also, Zach Wheeler returned yesterday to Kemp and made a start. 4 1/3 innings pitched with 2 earned runs and 4 strikeouts. His wife is still set to give birth to their child any day now, so we'll have to see what happens regarding Zach Wheeler. But he did look pretty good yesterday. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to give you Heath's favorite players at each position and a little bit of ADP review for those still drafting. We'll do that here on Fantasy Baseball Today. We're back here, Fantasy Baseball Today, and Heath, let's get into some of your favorite players here. We already talked about Stanton and Judge at the top, but it feels like we've talked about Stanton for every podcast over the past 4 months. So let's get into catcher here, and one of your favorites, Salvador Perez, who in the month of July, he has an ADP in round 15, according to the NFBC. Mind you, the NFBC is where a lot of roto drafts are taking place, and in a 2-catcher league, you're getting Salvador Perez in round 15. Heath, I'm a huge fan of this pick, and Salvador Perez is someone that I have targeted quite frequently as well.
I expected like an audible noise from Scott White, just how funny it was that I picked Salvador Perez. But no, I just think I don't know for sure that Salvador Perez is going to be a top 5 catcher. I think that should probably be the expectation. But if nothing else, he shouldn't be drafted 5 rounds after the number 5 catcher, Mitch Garver. Like, he should be right in that same area. I expect he's still, as he did before he got hurt, I expect he's still going to play more than the average catcher. And he's going to put up some numbers. He's going to hit right in the middle of that Royals lineup. It's not a good lineup, but where you hit in the lineup matters more than the quality of the lineup.
Yeah, and he's probably going to hit 250, maybe 260, but a solid source of power, 21 or more home runs in 4 straight seasons before last year. Obviously, he didn't play last year. So I'm with you. I just think that, you know, his price tag should probably be higher when it comes to Salvador Perez. Some ADP review at the catcher position. Again, NFBC ADP in the month of July. JT Realmuto going in round 4. So he has continuously climbed up boards here. Pick 44 off the board. Gary Sanchez, pick 89, round 8. I just want to pause right
shocking.
there. That's crazy to me. I wanted to pause there because, look, if you get Gary Sanchez 55 picks later than JT Realmuto, that 45. Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think Realmuto belongs
45,
in a tier
correct.
of his own. I think he's the odds-on favorite to lead the catcher position in plate appearances and games played. But like, Gary Sanchez is really good. And if he hits 260 this year, he might be the number 1 catcher.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the kind of player we're looking at. He has like by far the best power potential at the position.
Yeah. Well, by far might be, and like, Mitch Garver's up there, I think.
Right, but Mitch Garver's had 1 year where he's done what Gary Sanchez has done as a power hitter in his whole career.
Gary Sanchez deserves to go ahead of Mitch Garver. And the gap between Sanchez and Garver should probably be bigger than it is between Realmuto and Sanchez. But I say this as somebody who originally had Gary Sanchez ranked number 1 at the position too. I moved Realmuto ahead of him at some point in March. And I think the shortened season justifies that even more. But yeah. Like, once Realmuto is already gone, I'm pretty much just waiting around for Garver at that point. I don't know. That's just the way I've approached it.
After Sanchez, Yasmani Grandal with an ADP of 112. That's in round 10. Wilson Contreras, 116, also round 10. Mitch Garver, 119. All three of those catchers going in round 10. And then you see a huge drop in ADP where Will Smith is the sixth catcher off the board in round 14. Salvador Perez, we mentioned, round 15. Wilson Ramos in round 15. Omar Narvaez, round 17. Christian Vasquez, round 18. Carson Kelly, round 18. And Jorge Alfaro in round 19, just behind Alfaro. Sean Murphy and Yadier Molina, who are... I know Murphy for sure is a fan favorite here on the show. Yadier Molina, I mean, he's old, still kind of serviceable, but does go very late. Scott, you're right with Yadier Molina if you're just waiting?
Yeah, I think it for the same reason JT Realmuto benefits from 60-game season with most weeks guaranteed an off day. Molina would too. I mean, he's up there in terms of how consistently he plays, even at his old age. And I think I elevate him in the kind of schedule we're going to get now. Just, there's a good chance he's going to separate himself on volume.
Heath, at first base, who is one of your favorite targets here? We might actually be able to get a little debate between you and Scotty here on this one.
Good. Well, no, I think Scott changed his mind when he saw the new look for Rhys Hoskins, but I just don't really believe, if last year was the downside for Rhys Hoskins, I'm kind of okay with it, and I expect him to be better than he was last year. I think he got a little bit unlucky in terms of run production. I expect he's going to have a better home run to fly ball ratio than he does. He walks a ton. He has great power. What's not to like?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how his approach at the plate, his stance, changing that. I don't know what that's going to mean for him statistically, what kind of impact that's going to have. There haven't been, he didn't go on some kind of tear in spring training or here in summer camp to really validate that change, which doesn't mean it's not going to have an effect. It just means I have no clue, but I'm not tempted to elevate him based on that either. The home run to fly ball rate, for a power hitter, somebody known for hitting a lot of home runs, Rhys Hoskins makes pretty weak contact. So he hits a ton of fly balls, but just hitting a ton of fly balls seems to be the source of his power more than the kind of contact he makes for how hard he hits the ball. And that is a recipe for a low batting average, which he delivered last year. It was especially low last year, and in fact, it was under 200 for the last 4 months. He walks a lot, which counteracts it pretty well. Still had a 364 on base percentage. That's good. And that might be enough to save him. I'm not as worried about Rhys Hoskins over 60-game seasons as I was over a full-length season, because my worry over a 60-game season, if he comes out of the gate hitting under 200 like that for a couple months, do they replace him at some point? Does he go the way of Chris Carter, who had, a similar offensive profile? But in a 60-game season, I don't really worry so much that there's time for him to lose his job. But I don't think he deserves to go higher than he does. I mean, he's going to be a liability in batting average.
Reese Hoskins in the month of July, an ADP of 126. He's going in round 11. He really represents the final first baseman that I would want as a starting first baseman on my teams, regardless of format. If it's Roto, points league, again, he walks a ton, so that's going to help. And I think if he could just get back to the player he was in the first half last year, where he hit 263, 401, 530 was his triple slash with 20 home runs and 59 ribbies.
Yeah.
I'll just ask a couple questions. Why would you draft Reese Hoskins if Miguel Sano is still there?
Well, they go at...
You got to be careful
Sano
with the Miguel Sano comparisons, Chris.
But he'll have first base eligibility this week. After the first week of the season, right?
No, I agree with you. As somebody who would wonder why somebody would take Chris Davis if Miguel Sano is still there, I also wonder why somebody would take Rhys Hoskins if Miguel Sano is still there.
Well, Chris Davis goes later than Miguel Sano, but then the other question I would ask is, why would you take Reese Hoskins when Luke Voigt's still there? Well, really, the part of the problem for me is I think Luke Voigt should probably be a top 10 first baseman.
Mm-hmm.
I would take him. I don't know if I would take him ahead of Jose Abreu, but I'm expecting similar production from them. And I think Luke Voit is kind of a cheat code at first base this year. Like, he's going 194th overall. I don't know what that is in July, but it's probably not too much higher. And so, like, when you say he's the last first baseman, well, you know.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, Chris. I think I would be fine with Luke Voit as my first baseman. It's just everybody going around Luke Voit, I would not be fine with as my first baseman.
Right.
So if you miss
hard
out on
to
him,
aim for Luke Voit specifically, because if you miss.
Yeah, I take him at like 150 instead of 200.
Yeah. His ADP in July is 189. So if you want to assure that you get him, you pull him up the draft board a little bit. Chris, my only retort for Hoskins versus Sano is health. You know, Hoskins has played 153 or more games each of the past 2 seasons. Sano, especially in a shortened season, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. As much as I love Sano, and I do like Sano a lot, but if he misses time in a 60-game season, that's amplified.
Yep, that's fair.
ADP for first base in July. Cody Ballinger, of course, he's all alone in the first round. He's going 4th overall. Freddie Freeman, his ADP this month is 26, round 3. Scott, where do you think Freddie Freeman settles back in? Because it sounds like he's going to be ready for opening day.
Yeah, I think he settles back into being mid-second or early second even. I think we're going to do the podcast listeners league draft tonight. That's the head-to-head points one. So maybe, it depends how early they go, how much they pile up pitching early, this particular group. But if they don't, then I expect Freeman to go about that early again. Sounds like he's going to be ready. So why not?
It's interesting. Over the last 5 days, even if you just limit it to the July 15th through the 20th, he's actually fallen.
I noticed that.
From the
it's very
part
weird.
Of July. That doesn't make any sense. Freddie Freeman is one of the 6 or 7 best hitters in baseball.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's being ungenerous.
I think he should be closer to that 1-2 turn once again. Late first, early second round.
If that continues, I'm going to draft a lot of Freddie Freeman this week.
Absolutely. And why wouldn't you? Pete Alonso, pick 34 in round 3. Matt Olson, 51 in round 5. Max Muncy and DJ LeMahieu basically going the same point, pick 75 in round 7. Jose Abreu, 1 pick later. Paul Goldschmidt, 79 in round 7. Anthony Rizzo slipping again a little bit, 86 in round 8. Josh Bell, 101 in round 9. Reese Hoskins, we talked about, pick 126 in round 11. And then Carlos Santana, rounding out the top 12, pick 144, the 12th, 13th turn there. But, of course, in a head-to-head points league, his ADP is like in the 6th or 7th round, and that's exactly where it should be for Carlos Santana. Second base, Heath, we've already mentioned the name today. Why don't you reveal the player you like to target at second base?
Yeah, the leadoff hitter for the Cleveland Indians, Cesar Hernandez. This is not the first time I've made this argument either. I think you're going to get a guy that hits around 280, steals 15 to 20 bases, and scores 100 runs in the 21st round.
Yeah, and I wrote about Cesar Hernandez as a sleeper way back in March, I guess it is now. And because if you were watching spring training then, he was hitting near the top of the lineup. And, under Terry Francona, Terry lets people run. So I don't think Cesar Hernandez is the fastest player, but can he give you a 15 to 20 steal pace in a shortened season? I mean, if he leads off for that lineup, 90 run pace, maybe 100. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. His ADP is 245 in round 21 as the 23rd second baseman off the board. So I can definitely get behind it there with Cesar Hernandez. ADP review for second base. No second baseman going in the first 2 rounds, something we've talked about. It's not really a top-heavy position. It's rather a very shallow position. Gleyber Torres, pick 29 in round 3. Ozzie Albies, pick 32 in round 3. Ketel Marte, pick 39 in round 4. Jose Altuve, pick 39 in round 4. Keston Hiura, pick 40 in round 4. Jonathan VR, pick 42 in round 4. So you have 6 second basemen that are going within 13 picks of each other. Scott, based on the average draft position of those players, who would you prefer in that range?
Oh, Ketel Marte. He's toward the back end of that range, and I actually have him as my number 1 second baseman. So I'm sure I have the most shares of him. So that's how it's been playing out in the drafts I've been doing. I like Hiura a lot too. I mean, Hiura's going only 1 pick later, and he might have the most upside at the position. I think if you're just measuring upside, it's a close call between Hiura and Marte. And I guess Altuve would be right there too. So all of them in that 30, going 39th or 40th, those would be the 3 I'd focus on out of this group.
After VR, Whit Merrifield, pick 65 in round 6. Max Muncy, pick 75 in round 7. DJ LeMahieu, also pick 75 in round 7. Jeff McNeil, pick 91 in round 8. Mike Moustakas, pick 97 in round 9. And then Kevin Biggio, pick 125 in round 11. On to shortstop. Heath, who's your favorite shortstop? You actually share this with
Adam Azer credit for this one, which I hate giving him credit for anything. But I'll go with Carlos Correa. And I'm not. You mentioned with Miguel Sano, you were worried because the injuries. I'm kind of the opinion this year that it's a 60-game season. It's not going to last that long. You might as well shoot for the moon. If everybody gets hurt, then it's going to be over fast anyway.
Yeah, there are two. I realize that there are two different ways that this can go, and you can look at it glass half full, glass half empty. I'm a little bit more pessimistic when it comes to the injuries, so I typically don't draft Carlos Correa, but basically everybody else on this podcast, Heath included, you guys are all fans of Carlos Correa. I can't knock the talent. It's just whether or not he can stay on the field.
It's weird because I feel like him and the 14 shortstops ahead of them, they're kind of all shooting for the moon. There's so much upside at this position. And among those high upside players, Carlos Correa seems like the riskiest. I actually have him ahead of Tim Anderson. I think Tim Anderson has a fair amount of risk just in his hitting profile, but I seem to be in the minority there. Most people are pretty comfortable with the idea he's going to help in batting average and stolen bases. So, I might put Corey Seager in this group as somebody who has second round type upside.
Yeah, Corey Seager.
You're kind of shooting for the moon with all of them. So I don't even know that. Oh, Carlos Correa is great discount, and look at you might end up outperforming every other team at this position by taking him there. No, but maybe he'll hang with most other teams.
I mean, if Carlos Correa is healthy, he's probably the 6th best shortstop.
I cannot say that with any degree of confidence.
I mean, I feel pretty confident that if Carlos Correa plays the same number of games as Gleyber Torres, he's going to be better than him.
Confident? I mean, I feel like they're kind of similar players at this point.
There's been one year where that hasn't been true for Carlos Correa. Basically, since his rookie season was true, he was better than Gleyber Torres was last year in fantasy. His second year, it wasn't true, and 2018, it wasn't true. But 3 out of the 5 years in 2018 was mostly just because of injuries. But on a per-game basis, just as a hitter, he's been better than Gleyber Torres.
Well, Gleyber Torres usually being drafted as a second baseman, so I don't even necessarily think of him as a shortstop usually. But I mean, I get that argument, sure.
It really would not surprise me, at least at 23 years old, if he just takes another step too. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Gleyber Torres also has to be better this year to be as good as he was last year, I think.
Oh no, you're right about I don't draft Gleyber Torres. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate. But I mean, 820 OPS as a rookie, 871 last year. I don't think it would shock anyone if he gets that up to 900 and he's batting third in the Yankees lineup, which is obviously a very favorable spot to be in for fantasy purposes. ADP at this position. Francisco Lindor, Trey Turner, Trevor Story, all first-round picks. According to the NFBC, in the month of July, Fernando Tatis is going 1 pick ahead of Alex Bregman, which, Scott, you probably find insane. Oof, a big thumbs down there from Scotty.
Not good.
Gleyber Torres, we mentioned, going in the 3rd round. Adalberto Monteci. Heath, I did want to ask you quickly because I saw you tweet once about Adalberto Monteci. You said if there's any season to draft him, it's probably a 60-game season, no?
Oh, he's proven in the past he can play 60 games without getting hurt. He's just never been able to play 150 without getting hurt. So yeah, again, this is the type of guy. And when I was originally looking at CBS ADP, he is much, much, much lower because obviously he should be in a points league, but I still think he could be kind of a value there. I'm not sure he's a value here.
No, he's not a value in the 3rd round, which is high. But I guess people in the NFBC want their steals. Again, last year at the 60-game mark, Adalberto Monteci led baseball with 22 steals and a .280 batting average. Javier Baez going in the 3rd round, Jonathan Villar, Xander Bogaerts, and Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette all the way up to the 4th round, something we've talked about. Manny Machado in round 6, Tim Anderson in round 8, Marcus Semien at the 8-9 turn, Carlos Correa in round 9, and of course, Corey Seager, someone we like to mention often here at pick 140 in round 12. What is going on? Third base, quite a deep position. Heath, who do you like in terms of value here at third base?
Another guy who is going higher in this format than he is at CBS, but Mike Moustakas is going 30 picks later than Manny Machado, and Manny Machado outside of Camden Yards has basically been Mike Moustakas in his career. In that ballpark, he might hit 40 home runs this year. It's exceptional value in my mind.
Oh gosh. Well, Heath, I thought we were friends. It's now time for you to leave. No, I'm kidding. I'm on Manny Machado Island here on the show. So,
did he get traded back to the Orioles?
Yeah. Why would it change at this point, right? I'm just just gonna continue to ride it out with Manny Machado. Again, third base, a very deep position. Jose Ramirez going at that 1-2 turn, pick 13. Arenado, pick 14. Bregman, pick 18. Devers, pick 25 in round 3. Anthony Rendon slipping a little bit. Scott, do you think this is because of the most recent, he's dealing with an oblique? He says he should be ready for opening day, but I've most consistently seen him in the second round, so it's kind of surprising to see him here at pick 29.
It might have to do with that, and I don't think it's entirely unjustified. I mean, they say it was more of like a tweak of his oblique than anything else. They say he's going to be ready. Obliques are something that you can re-injure pretty easily, though, and I could see this becoming something worse for Rendon. You know, if he was falling a full round, then I would just welcome the discount. But I would probably be with this group and hesitating at the end of round 2, taking Anthony Rendon, given how short the season is and how you can't really afford for any of your early round picks to miss time. I'm more worried about Rendon than Freeman at this point, I would say.
Chris, you're on the clock tonight. Would you take Rafi Devers or Anthony Rendon? He's thinking.
Rendon.
Question mark?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my preference would just be to take Devers at the end of the second round, and then, you know, maybe Anthony Rendon falls a little bit. But yeah, I think Rendon's the better player.
Vlad Guerrero, ADP of 59, going at the 5-6 turn. Chris Bryant going in round 6. Manny Machado and Yoan Moncada also in round 6. Eugenio Suarez, pick 73 in round 7. I'm going to skip over Muncy and DJ LeMahieu. I think most people are probably using them at first or second base. Josh Donaldson in round 8. Jeff McNeil and Matt Chapman also in round 8. And then Mike Moustakas we talked about in round 9. Miguel Sano, pick 123 in round 11. Heath, you talked about Judge and Stanton at the top of the show as two of your favorite values in the outfield. The third name is going quite a bit later than both of those guys.
Yeah, Kyle Lewis. I guess a former prospect, kind of prospect. He got a lot of power and apparently more speed this year. And they're talking about maybe even playing him in center field in Seattle. He's available whenever your last round is, it seems like, based on ADP. You can just take him at the end of your draft. It doesn't matter how deep your draft is.
And definitely better in a roto league because he strikes out like over 30% of the time. But his StatCast numbers last year, a 23% barrel rate, which is just unheard of. It's a very small sample size, obviously, for him. Only 43 batted balls, and 10 of those were barreled. But
I feel like to get 6 home runs in 75 plate appearances, you kind of have to have a barrel rate that high.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. I don't know that tells me much more.
Well, you could play at Yankee Stadium.
75 plate appearances do.
You could be a Yankee. You don't need barrels to hit home runs there.
Yeah.
Shout out Didi Gregorius.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't play for the Yankees, but he does seem to have good opposite field power. It's just, look, I understand Lewis was injured for a ton of his minor league career, but he didn't really show much power there. And then, he had like a 40% strikeout rate when he came up to the majors last year. Now, I don't know that the strikeouts are going to be that big of a problem. But even at AA before getting called up, it was like 30%, which is still bad. I don't know. I mean, Kyle Lewis seems like a total wild card to me. I feel like the strikeouts put a clear limit on his upside. But if he's like this poor man's Jorge Soler, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, and he goes super late. Again, I looked up his NFBC ADP for July. It was like 350. And then on CBS, it's $297. So specifically in a roto league, you could grab him as a reserve or maybe even a fifth outfielder in a deeper league. Kyle Lewis, again, the name to remember. Not going to focus on ADP with the top tier outfielders. I want to move on to starting pitchers and relief pitchers. So Heath can give us his favorites there. But speaking of starting pitcher, Heath, one of the names here we've had like 5 months to prep for baseball, and we just have not talked about it at all. So I'm very interested to hear what you think about Johnny Cueto.
I'm going to assume that's Johnny Cueto, and he is coming back from an injury, but he's not like he was a guy that had to blow people away with his blazing speed. He knows how to pitch, and I think he'll come back and be just fine in a very good pitching environment. Adam and Azer and I had many fights over Johnny Cueto over the last 2 years, and so I'm disappointed that no one's talked about him. But again, another guy that's just being drafted as if it's just a complete and total afterthought now. I think 350 was his ADP or something. So yeah, Johnny Cueto, Rich Hill, and Blake Snell were my three favorites.
Yeah, look, if Alberto Monteci is the face of the shortened season, Rich Hill on the pitching side, Heath, it has to be the face of, the shortened season.
Just try to make 12 starts, man. 12 starts. You can do it.
He had 14 last year. I think most of them were in a row.
Yeah, I moved him inside my top 40 starting pitchers, and I know, Scott, you have him right around 40. So, look, we've said it before. If he stays healthy, he's going to perform like a top 15, maybe even better than that pitcher.
I mean, his ratios are that good.
Right.
I actually, in TGFBI, the Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational, one of probably the largest of the experts leagues. It's really more like a network of leagues than a single league. But the first run of Fab ran last night, and I think we drafted our teams back in February, or we started drafting in February maybe, and it went into March. It was a long time ago. I had Noah Syndergaard as one of my higher picks, obviously not going to get anything from him this year. To replace him, Rich Hill, way back then when nobody knew when he was coming back, he went undrafted. So he was out there. $1,000 Fab budget. I spent $667 to get Rich Hill. I may have upgraded. My expectations for Rich Hill in the 60-game season may even be higher than they were for Syndergaard in a full-length season.
Yeah, I would just point out, like, Rich Hill did make 9 starts in a row last season. That's the longest stretch he had. If all he does is 52 innings, 59 strikeouts, and a 2.60 ERA, and looks like a whip about 1.12 or something, that'd be great. He had a 12-start stretch in 2018 where he had 67 innings with 73 strikeouts and a 2.82 ERA. Like, it's basically just, if he stays healthy for 12 starts or even 10, he's going to be a steal at the 40th pitcher.
Rich, you're right, Chris. Rich Hill going off the board, pick 178 in the month of July over at the NFBC, which is round 15. The mocks that we've done recently, I've seen him closer to the 130, 140 range. And Scott and I, we both have him right around 150 in our top 300. So we're kind of hedging our bet a little bit there, but I don't mind grabbing him as soon as you get to that 140 range.
That's another one where, like, why would I take Jesus Luzardo if Rich Hill's off the board? I'm expecting probably similar workloads. I
expect more from Hill.
Yeah, Rich Hill will go deeper into
more
games.
Workload upside. They both have pretty questions about their workload, but like Jesus Luzardo might be better than Rich Hill, but that would probably require Rich Hill to have gotten worse since the last time we saw him.
Hill could go 7 innings in his very first start. Luzardo may not have a 7-inning start all year.
He might not have a 7-inning start until like 2023.
At this point, right? Heath, give us a closer that you are targeting for this season.
Yeah, Taylor Rogers. I think the Twins really benefit from the fact they get to play just all of the terrible teams over and over and over again in the AL Central, and he may just lead the league in saves.
Heath, let me ask you, would you take him right now? His ADP is pick 84. He's going around that 7-8 turn. He's going just ahead of Kenley Jansen, Brad Hand, Ken Giles. Do you agree with that spot in ADP? Should he go ahead of those guys?
I would take him ahead of all those guys, yeah.
No worry about Sergio Romo being the setup man there and his 85-mile-per-hour fastball?
There's going to be some wacky stuff that happens, and there'll be a few saves that you wish that he got that he doesn't. But the Twins are going to win enough games against this competition that there will be plenty of saves for Rogers too.
All righty. Monday, in the books, we have our head-to-head points listener league, podcast league tonight. And then Wednesday, the For the People League, head-to-head categories. Heath, that's your baby. And we're going to be drafting together as adversaries. 16 teams.
Together as that. So
we're not doing joint teams, I guess.
So I don't have to share a team with Azer anymore?
No.
You and I shared a team.
You said it was Chris.
Did we share a team?
Yeah, you and I shared a team.
Okay. Well, I'll draft my own team.
See how that works out.
I think I've missed that draft every year. So I think you've had to draft that one anyway.
Chris, will you be there this year?
Yeah, I believe it had been a concert at least each of the last 2 years that I had missed it for. So obviously no concerts going on right now. So I should be able to make that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, you should you should be in the clear for this year.
I'm a maybe on the RSVP.
Heath, thank you so much for joining us here. And,
hey,
coming back to FBT.
Thank you for I've been asking to come on for like 4 months, and I guess we had to wait until Adam wasn't going to be here so I could be on the show.
I've been saying no, actually.
Yeah, it was all Chris. He didn't want you to steal his Giancarlo Stanton thunder. But seriously, Heath, I mean, whenever you're around, if you want to hop in, feel free. We'd love to have you back.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, for Heath, for Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching on the Fantasy Baseball Today YouTube channel. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.